There's a sequence, there's a code, there's a combination. And when you get the right combination, it unlocks everything for us. All right. What's up, brother?
What's up, dude?
Man, I been looking forward to getting back connected with you. And I know when we kind of moved away from coffee and coaching and just really focused in here on Coach Code more so of things, I was like, man, I told Iva, I said, we got to get Nick. Stay on him.
I turned it down several times just because, I feel, I'll tell you right now that like from a coaching or from a following, like there's something in my mind right now where just, I don't feel like I should be even on any of these at these moments, right? Just because everything that's gone on since October 6th of 2021 and through today, it's just, I don't even have words, right? So yeah. I like being back on these. I kind of ignored Iva on those at first. I'm like, I don't know. I'm probably not the right person to follow at this moment.
Yeah. And that it's crazy how our minds work on things. And we get into a season of our life and going through certain adversities and going through things. And, we just have that, unworthiness, some type of feel sometimes, if you look at the spectrum of kind of armchair quarterback or imposter syndrome, we kind of lean a little bit sometimes in on that imposter syndrome type of feel, but yet, sometimes we're stuck in the forest, man. We can't even, we're so close to it. We can't see really what's going on. And, I guess for you, as kind of all of the adversity and things that were thrown your way, and really just you already in a critical leadership role, had to step up even more as a leader. And I think this is a great message for everybody that's listening to this, that will listen to this, that, from you already being a great leader to kind of being thrown some incredible adversity that would never wish upon anybody to be able to handle. There's just tremendous, grit. There's just tremendous, things that you've been able to accomplish as a man, as a human being. And yeah, that's kind of really what I want to kind of hear from you, because there's so many people that will be dealt adversity and they can just be a turtle, right? And crawl back into the shell.
Yeah. Look, I'm an open book on all of it. Like there's no secrets. I mean, for what I kind of just mentioned on October 6th, 2021, my whole world changed. My brother who was my business partner passed away. So, and on that, he was kind of our wealth determiner for our family, because he ran our investment, our development and an investment side of our business. So, my role, since, this entire time, 2009, we had partnered up, created a good home team. And my entire role was just focused on our residential real estate sales, our sales team, our residential organization. And his entire focus was building, our wholesale, our flipping, our rentals, our now development side of our company. It's called AMG Development. And, October 6th, my whole world was flipped upside down. Yeah. And, it was, and I'd kind of let you in, we did our coaching calls with you Kitchens on Monday, right? Or I did with Monday. And I'd let you in on it. We were going through some stuff even before then, right? I had to cancel a couple of coaching calls, I think the week or two before.
Yeah, I think it was 2 weeks before.
Yeah, so those 2 weeks, I canceled that. And so from that, with him being gone, I mean, the imposter syndrome, I've always had that a little bit, but it's not even that. It's more so that he was my sounding board. He was the rock of that. And so you get thrown into that role, and it's kind of like trying to, getting dropped off in a different country and trying to learn their language. And you've got to, and that's the only way you can survive is by speaking that language. And so it was, it's trust me, there's days, man, that I I just want to stay in bed and just call it a day. But that's not fair for my organization, not fair for my people. It's not fair for our clients, and it's not fair to my family. So yeah, it's been an interesting is probably the easiest word to put it. It's not been a fun road to haul.
So, and just kind of maybe expand upon it a little bit, as anybody kind of going through that gets thrown that curveball, how, because it is easy, right? We have that feeling, we want to stay in, we don't want to face it. We just want to stay in bed. But really, what was kind of the singular focus for you to step up and not just stay there?
So I'm going to tell you that, and I don't know if I have it with me, but there's two things. One, and this is not just to pat your back, but there's one thing that you on our coaching that you had told me to start doing and implementing was in our like organizational calls, is the mindset is, what's the one thing I can control today, or what's the one thing you can control today that's going to move the company forward, right? So that just kept playing over and over in my head. And there's a book called If How-Tos Were Easy, We Would All Be Skinny, Rich, and Happy. Right? And in that book, it talks about we all make choices, right? We all have choices. I could choose to wake up every day and treat people like shit because of what I'm going through, or what I've been through, or what I'm experiencing right now. I can choose to just stay in bed because of what's happened and what's happening. Or I can choose to say, all right, I'm going to focus on the one thing I can control today, which is and I'm going to rank of importance in my businesses and in my life, what needs to get handled. So luckily, our sales team, I've got amazing people on my team, right? They stepped up. They known my brother Austin for a lot of these, some of them on my team, 10, 11, 12, 13 years, right? So they were going the same thing, going through a lot of the things I was, but, they stepped up. Our residential sales team just, kind of went on autopilot. We weren't implementing new ideas or strategies for sure. And I went into our development business because that one had, a lot of debt guarantees that if that failed, I mean, you're buried with debt. And so we ranked everything by priority, and everything else went to the wayside. And then as we checked it off, then we would go and pick that up. So, it was going through and looking at our development projects that we had, getting those back on track, especially right now. We went through COVID. We're going through supply chain, logistical supply chain issues. We're going through inflation. Everything costs more. Everything's behind on delays. So you just go and check off your list. Then once you handle that, then you go to the next importance. Like we were doing a major refinance for one of our developments, and that takes, if you've never done a refinance when it comes to a multifamily commercial property, that takes a lot of energy out of you. It takes a lot of time away. It's not like an easy residential refinance. Here's my tax return. Just give me the best rate. And so once we check that off the list, then we're just going down. And now thankfully, again, because it's the team members and the leaders that we have in our organization, I'm able to get back into our residential team here and really start to pour and love on them and make sure that this market is one of the toughest real estate markets that we've ever seen. And it's tough for buyers and sellers, and we need to make sure that we're putting our agents in the best position to win. We need to make sure we're putting our clients in the best position to win and providing that best advice and counsel, coming from that expert advisor role.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. I think that's, just kind of diving in and finding out really like, what can I control? What can we control that's going to continue to move these projects, move this business, move these things forward is to me is like, we got to get clear on that. But taking it even a step towards you a little bit, what have you had to focus on to stay strong, right? It's the whole oxygen mask. You can't be, you're only as good to everybody else as your leadership yourself. So kind of personally, what are some of the things that have really kind of helped you to stay strong, kind of leading, these businesses through, the last 4 or 5 months?
I mean, my wife's been huge in it, right? So she's been there every step of the way. But it's asking those questions. It's going back to the books, the self-development books. Again, it's How To's Were Easy book. And the number that I wake up and I say, all right, I'm not going to focus on the things I can't control. Right? I'm not gonna let that spiral out, because when your mind starts going down that path, then we're in trouble. Right? We can only focus on the thing that's in our control. So again, it goes back to what you had poured into me on, is what's the one thing I can do today that's going to move this company forward, or it's going to move me forward personally, or it's going to move my family forward. That's the number one thing that I'm going to focus on. Everything else can just go to the wayside. And if people have a problem with that, then I'll just be happy to address that at that time. But I will tell you that with all of this, I mean, one, mental health has become front of mind with mental health and everything else. And at one time I probably maybe shunned it a little bit, and that's definitely come to the forefront. And just making sure that I keep my mindset. I don't stay around negative people very long if I don't have to. I don't let other people's emotions or stress absorb into mine, because I don't have a lot of mental energy and capacity to take on other people's emotions right now. And so from that, it's allowed me again to wake up, and I have a choice. We all have choices. We can choose to have a good day. We can choose to have a bad day, no matter what's being thrown at us. And I'll give you, for example, before I got on this call, I got some news about, while going through all this, one of my duplexes that I own, during the holidays, caught fire and burnt down. That's not fun to deal with, because my brother handled all that, right? So then I get some news about some insurance about the insurance payout. That's not really the greatest news that I got on it, especially with the cost of rebuilds and everything else. But it is what it is. I could choose to let this affect me. I can choose to let my mind just dwell on it, and nothing else gets done and nothing else gets accomplished. So the number one thing is I can make a choice to not let those things affect me in a negative manner. And then how can we solve them? That's it. Everything is earmarked for how can we solve them, how can we fix them, and does it truly need to be fixed and solved right now, or can we just place it over here? And then we rank them in terms of importance of priority.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I absolutely love that. It's only, really pushing on our team to focus on the thing within their control. But, it's then now I got to live it at a high level, right? Here I am, leading these people to, hey, what is the one thing that's within your control you can focus on today to move whatever bucket in your life forward? But now when you're forced to shit, I have to lead the way with this. It could be draining. And, I think too, you also throw in the last 4 months, addition to the family, as the family has grown. So that's even, another, it's a huge bright spot, but it's throwing something else in the mix, right?
It is. I will tell you, with what we've gone through, it's a blessing now. Again, it puts you in perspective again that one, we're just a small piece in everything going on, but we can make a big impact. And so, it wouldn't be fair to my kids. It wouldn't be fair to my relationship that I have if I'm just a gift to everyone. It's just going to run people off eventually. Screw you. I'm not going to offer any help. And so, it's just a matter of everyone has problems, right? And the problems that people are going through, or whatever people adversity they're facing, when you're going through it, your problems are the biggest iceberg that in your world at that time. To me, that might be a tiny little ice cube, but to you, it might be the biggest iceberg that you've ever seen. And so we just have to put that in perspective and remember that what people are going through, even though it might look easy and minor to me, then but that might be the biggest thing that they face at that time in their life. And one thing I've learned about, the stresses on the brain and the stresses on the body, the good news is that your body actually responds really well to that, and things that put you under stress for that, as long as you don't buckle and you face them and you don't just pull the covers over your head, your body responds actually in a positive way. Once what's hard starts becoming easy. And so some of the things that I'm going through right now, I'm like, all right, I've been through hell, right? So a lot of these things that we're working on right now, it's all, systematic approaches, and we just put them in place. We stay consistent, we stay loyal to it, and it's going to reward us.
Yeah, 100%. And what would you say, anybody that's kind of going through hell other than, don't stop, right? But like I see you back in the gym, staying consistent to those activities. Like what are some of the things that you would say, hey, go through hell. It's going to be easy to, get fixated and not focus on the things that you need to do. Like stay in the gym. What are you consuming? You said stay off the news. But what are some key things? Like, hey, make sure you focus on these key activities. And it's not going to be easy, but it will really help.
I mean, for me, it's the gym, number one. Like, if I don't get around that too long, like even when my little girl was born, Aspen, like, I got COVID in the hospital, right? So I had to get sent home. So I couldn't see her. I couldn't go to the gym, and then you start to get, for me, working out or staying within that activity helps you lose that stress, and that's my think time, and then just pouring into from a personal development side. One thing that I'm really trying to get into more is from a release. It's the gratitude journal. And it's the 5-minute journal.
Yep.
Put it out. So, one of the things that I was trying to read here. Let me see this. I have it highlighted as I tell my daughter about it. One of the greatest gifts of being human is the ability to choose what to focus on. So again, we have a choice, right? If you are perfectly calm and still on the inside, you can handle anything. And so that's the main thing, is like we have choices to what we want to focus on. We have choices of how we want to feel, how we want to process it.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of it's really, I'm going to say it's getting more into that personal development, that mindset, and when bad things happen, you just break it down and analyze it, and process it, but don't and for me it's just I'm choosing to find the silver lining in it.
Yeah, I love that. Brian Moses, that was always his big thing, right? Was gratitude. The struggle ends when gratitude begins, and then Karen Stuman's little daily exercise of capturing the 5 things that you're most grateful for the moment you wake up, and writing it out, capturing that. So I love that 5-minute journal. I think that's a huge nugget for everybody, but also at any time, right? You need to be doing that, just because it definitely puts things in perspective, right? You look at Gary V's grateful thing, right? He does inventory on his circle, and that's all he cares about. That's all he worries about. And there's just some real power when you embrace that and build those habits into your daily activity.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. The gym is the physical side is where it has to begin, because that carries off of everything else, and then really putting things into perspective that you're tremendously grateful for. And I love that you're connecting that with your kids as well, with your daughter. So
yeah.
So powerful, because now it's helping you, but then it helps you even more when you teach it, right? You're teaching that, so it helps really ingrain it and either teaching it into your family, teaching it into your team. It that residual effect that it has on us is even more powerful. So that's awesome. Let's shift kind of things over to the business side of things. Kind of unpack. I know you've really been focused on the investment side of things, the bigger projects. So let's take it there first. I mean, what are you seeing? I mean, obviously for those of you guys kind of listening in that's not familiar with Nick's in Plano, McKinney, the Northeast, Frisco, Dallas market. And so I know you guys have projects all over, but you're located. So just kind of, geographically, everybody listening in, kind of where Nick's out of is out of the North DFW market.
Yeah. So, I mean, look on the development side, the building side of things, look, again, that's not fun either. Right. I mean, if you're representing any clients on new construction projects, your clients and yourself have faced that stress or what builders are going through, and so look, we face increased costs, right? We face the supply chain issues, and labor shortages, right? So we've got the trifecta there, and the good news is, again, we've got a great crew, and the number one thing that I'm looking at from an investment project or anything is like, with inflation and the cost of goods going up, can I realistically buy it at the right price that is still, that's still going to have to get passed on to the consumer? So if it's a build to rent community, if it's a rental project, whatever that may be, with taxes, insurance, and cost to build, and holding costs, am I able to recoup and get the type of rent and the rental demand needed in order to make this a viable project? And so on our current stuff, the current stuff that we have in the mix is, the good news is that even though we're over budget and behind on time, rental prices have increased way above what we had projected and performed out, that we're able to absorb the delayed and launch, and the increase in construction costs. So I don't know how long that may be in terms of, we haven't bought anything in the last, again, since October, November. We haven't bought anything since then to really go and mimic, look at that. So I don't know what the future holds right now on that. It may be sitting, unfortunately, on some cash that's getting eaten away at inflation, to see what that next move is. Determine, all right, from the research I've done, a lot of times when the government tries to nail inflation down, typically what we've seen in the past is we enter in some type of recessionary period, and I don't know what that recessionary period looks like in terms of how it's going to affect here in the Dallas-Fort Worth market, because we still have strong demand. We still got a ton of people relocating here, and the job outlook still looks very positive.
Yeah, I think I think the changes, and I know you stay a student on top of all of that. I just feel, it just comes back down to supply and demand. And so you look at, there's certain markets, there's certain locations, there's certain places that they're going to be rough like this for a while.
Yep.
And, some will lead ahead of others, but kind of when you look at Texas, you look at Florida, you look at, those states that are just outpacing everybody else for, a lot of different reasons. I just don't know how or when or what that's going to shake out to kind of in the future. I'm still on alerts for our house in that market when we sold in July up in Prosper. So we had our house. It's like I fell out of my chair when I got a notification last week on what a home hit the market that was right around the corner from our house. So we sold our home for about $90,000 over list price. We set the mark, highest price per square foot in our area. A home went on the market $100,000 more than what we sold our home for in July.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you right now. So when you put your home on the market, I had made an offer on a home, and there was a little bit in this neighborhood. There was a little bit of a period. There's like a 2-week lag period where things had slowed down. So I made an offer at list price. They came back over asking. I was like, it was on for 14 days, which was unheard of. And so, I got a little greedy. My ego got in the way. And they, I offered $775. They wanted $810. I was like, absolutely not. And they didn't sell. They took their home off the market. So I'm still trying to buy that home today, a year later, and it's probably going to cost me $950 now. And in hindsight, looking back, and I went against what I advised my clients, right? So a lot of times we're our own worst client, and it's nuts. And so, um, I did on our podcast, the only real estate podcast I was listening to yesterday. We talked about there's these reports out right now that homebuyer sentiment at an all-time low. Like home buyers are saying this is the worst market. This is the worst time to buy a house. And I had asked a question on the show. I said, that's interesting. Worst time. Home buyers saying it's the worst time to buy. If you would have told those buyers or buyers in 2010, would they have told you it was a good time to buy or a bad time to buy?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I guarantee you it would have been in 2010, they were saying it's a bad time to buy. So is there ever truly, when are we going to see a home buyer poll that's really ever going to say it's a good time to buy when things are on one side of the pendulum or the other? And so it's our job as that expert advisor to really sit down and show them, because what right now in the media, everything in the media is talked about, even on here, I'm talking about supply chain issues, increased costs, inflation, yada, yada, yada. Now we've got rising interest rates, right? So everything that is being stacked against a buyer or even a seller right now, because sellers can sell their house at all-time highs, but they're saying, where do I go? Prices are outrageously high. Well, yes, Mr. Seller, it is. But let me ask you a question. If you were to sell your house right now, how much more and how much more equity do you have today, right? So you're just, versus 2016, 17, or 18. Well, you've got $150,000, $200,000 more than you would have had in a normal real estate market. So actually, you're just transferring your equity into that next house. So let's look at your actual payment instead of looking at the cost of a home. Let's look at actual payment costs instead. So there's a lot of ways that we can work as an expert advisor. There's a lot of ways that we can work with buyers and say, you're right, prices are higher than they were last year, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. But everything's higher. Are you no longer buying food because prices are higher?
Right.
No, you're still buying that same thing. So let's go look at, what can we do to help you get into the house? You really need to get into a new home. Should you wait? Is it better to wait? I'm going to tell you right now from personal experience, I wish I would not have waited, because it is costing me more money.
Yeah. It really is. And like what we were saying, everything obviously is local and definitely where you're at. Like, when does it slow down? When does it taper off? I don't know, right? Because the supply and demand and there's just more demand than there is supply. And so it's going to be interesting, 18, 24, 36 months.
For sure. And look, even nationally, look, everything, I just sent a video to our database yesterday, the day before. Everything's local, but even if you look at it from a national national side of things, we're behind, almost 2 million houses nationally. Like it's going to take, you would have to flood the market and one, that's not happening. People are staying in their homes, 3 to 5 years longer than what the average time was anyway. And so we're going to be in this period for a bit, right? And so if you as a business owner in the real estate agent space, you're going to have to find, your niche market. You're going to have to find a way to get your clients to hire you. And so it's coming up with that, with that, I don't even know if I want to say unique selling proposition anymore. It may be coming from, coming up and really hammering down, listening to what the client's needs are, and focusing on that, and then reverse engineer it and break it down to, all right, interest rates are going up, right? And they're going to continue to go up, which is going to, in the beginning, it's knocking out home buyers that honestly weren't going to buy a home in the first place because they didn't have the cash to compete.
Yeah.
So we're not eliminating a lot of buyers right now. We're eliminating those buyers that were on life support that, that it's now, we're just now pulling the plug. Now, yeah, good.
No, I agree 100%. And that's just kind of been my conversation with agents kind of in this year, is that you got to get real clear on who is a real buyer and seller in today's market. And just because you get something on the line doesn't mean that you need to reel it in. You need to maybe cut the line quick. And so I think, my whole focus to everybody is you got to just do a quicker, better job of qualifying There was a really good um, uh, 2 minute kind of conversation from Ryan Dice talking about the best 2 minute sales conversation, and what he was saying is getting real clear to tell them, you listen, what are they trying to do, and then being able to quickly say, unfortunately, that's not what we do. I'm sorry, we're not going to be able to help you. Here's the qualifications to be able to buy or sell in today's market. We can put you on a, or, and what he was saying is that if you recommend them what to do and you put them in a better position, that when maybe it does change or they're in a different position, that they'll come back to you because you told them what was best for them at the time. And what I see, and you see it all the time too, especially with real estate agents, they're like, this dude wants to do something, so I got me a client. And it's like, but you haven't qualified. Like, you don't know, can you truly help them? And I think that's one of the biggest things as in any profession, as it relates to you're trying to help a consumer solve a problem, is that can you truly, based upon what you do, can you truly help them solve that problem? And if you can't, tell them right away that you can't. If not, you're going to waste so much of your time and energy that will never result in anything.
Yeah, it's just those are the agents that are just, wanting to stay their busy, right? And so I will tell you that during the recession, I turned down more business, or lack thereof, right? There wasn't business in the first place because I couldn't help them. And they came back to me because at that time, just like probably right now, is that they had agents telling them what they wanted to hear just to earn, just to get them to sign a listing agreement, right? Or we could sell your house, because at that time, it was a buyer's market. So, you would have to take, in order to sell 1 to 2 listings a month, you really needed to sign probably about 10 to 12, because they were upside down or barely breaking even, or they didn't have the money to get out. And so it was advising them on how maybe you shouldn't sell. Can we rent your house out? Here, the same thing is with buyers. If they don't have the money to compete, it's showing them a path of doing so. If from a seller side, if they don't really have to move right now, then they're just doing it to test the market. Then ultimately, let's do a wait and see, or remodel their house. You don't always have to just go in with a commission, right? So I do think that's where we get really the bad rap is we made a joke yesterday on the podcast is really, when people ask when's the best time to sell, a lot of us, and I'm guilty of this, every day is the best day to sell, right? Every day is the best day to sell or buy, depending on what you've got going on in your life, right? So, typically people make decisions. It's an emotional, something that's happening, in their life, whether it's a divorce, whether they've added a new child, whether they're getting married, whether, unfortunately someone passed away, or in their, and that involves buying. Maybe they're relocating, like you still, in Dallas, you still have a ton of people relocating here. They need to buy, because I'm going to tell you right now, here in Dallas, 14 straight months of increasing rent. I'm going to tell you, I'd rather buy a home and take these interest rates and pay these prices rather than being on the other end of it, renting, and then you've got zero control on your monthly cost.
I'm with you, man. On the selling side of things, I mean, shit, if I'd have waited 7 months, I could have put an extra 100,000 in the pocket. I mean,
Yeah.
But, we thought we were like, are you kidding me? Like, let's take that. Yeah. And it's like, damn, it's always easier looking back.
So someone put in here, ability to purchase in this market is getting harder and harder for the average person, especially first-time home buyers or lower-income buyers. And again, this is where you have to have those difficult conversations with increasing rates, and because of this market, the lower-income buyers at this very time, there's not much that we can do in certain marketplaces. And that's just the unfortunate thing, right? So you could go work with a lower income buyer who needs down payment assistance, and when you're all said and done, you set that person up for frustration. You're frustrated, and time is money when it comes to your business. And if you set that person up for frustration and you don't get them in the house, they're probably going to look at you as not the expert, and They're going to go start searching for other people, or they may badmouth you a little bit. And so it actually could cost you business and repeat referrals.
Yeah, absolutely. It absolutely, yeah, so spot on. It is. It's about, you got to look at the lifetime value of the relationship, and did you give them the best advice based upon the current situation and what they were wanting to accomplish, what was their goal. And it's not about you making a sale. And that's where most real estate agents trip up, Nick, you know this, is that they try to make it about them because they got to get that commission check instead of doing what's best. They want to be the hero, and you go into, the hero's journey. The agent wants to be the hero, and that's not who real estate professionals are. True expert advisors, they're not the hero, they're the guide. The buyer or the seller is the hero, and you got to find out what they're trying to accomplish, and so being able to guide them to that conclusion. That's what they're wanting to do.
And I would say that, look, in today's market, it's going to take a lot of digging, a lot more work. The average real estate agent has been in this business less than 5 years. So they don't know, I'm going to tell you right now, we are digging and sourcing more off-market deals than we've ever had. And that may change the industry some. I mean, yeah. We might see a change over the next 5 years because the way the MLS is going, the Realtor Association with clear cooperation, we may start seeing a lot of change, and we have to be ready to evolve and adapt to this, so that, again, someone put in here, are you a true fiduciary? Like, my fiduciary responsibility is to my clients, and so if they're electing to hire me, I need to do anything and everything I can, ethically and legally, to go and find them hopefully find them what they're looking for. So. Mm-hmm. We're out here sourcing off-market deals more than we ever have, but we're digging as deep as we possibly can to help start placing these clients, or helping homeowners sell their house, and getting them the type of contracts that are needed. I mean, we've got people that are needing to sell, but they want to sell right now, but still stay in their house and get longer lease backs. And there's a lot more to it that takes a lot of, it's becoming more and more complex. Thus, we truly start earning the amount of fees and commissions and value that we should have been adding in the marketplace in the beginning.
So true. There, it kind of leans into my question to you, and somebody had put out a statistic. So before I do that, I want to, you and I have talked about this. We've really, from a projection standpoint, and I've had these conversations. I had a great conversation with Don Yoakum about this, and somebody just recently said that, Ferry in Vegas a couple of weeks ago was saying the same thing. But we felt that things were pretty much going to stay pretty much the same for about a 5-year run. So now we're a year in, so about 4 years, and that's what Ferry was saying in Vegas a couple of weeks ago, is that we got about 4 years. And so that's, you and I've talked about it. Don and I've talked about it. And so after that, who knows? And then what we've always said, coming out of this decade, all bets off. All bets are off coming out of the decade. So if you know that, and what I want to say this, obviously I want your perspective and your take on this. If that's true, we know things are going to pretty well ride the way they are for the next 4 years. If that doesn't put a sense of urgency into what you're doing, nothing will. And so kind of what is your take, kind of on that? Hey, we got about that 4 years. Hey, then who knows what's going to happen after that into the decade. And then for sure, going into coming out of, going into 30, all bets off.
I mean, and I haven't heard what Thomas said about this. Is he talking about this market run, or agents, or everything in general?
I think everything in general. The feedback to me on what he said obviously wasn't there, and this was just coming from somebody that was, and so this was their interpretation of what he was saying, is that you better go as hard as you can the next 4 years.
100%. I mean, I've been telling people that for a while anyway. You don't know, not that I'm a sky is falling type of person, but I don't want to be, lack of a better term, I don't want to be caught with my pants down. And so, um, I've always wanted to run this business as a true business that could adapt and evolve, right? And if that means that, um, we have to operate at less commission, we have to operate less commission. If that means that there's less real estate agents in the space and there's less agents doing more deals, then I need to find a way to be a part of that conversation.
Yeah.
And so I've always tried to do some stress tests. I know that's one thing that my brother and I always did, even on our investments and developments, stress testing if and when those rates started going up. Could some of our developments that had some of the arms and stuff like that, could we withstand a recession or increasing rates? Same thing on the real estate agent side. Like if you are just an agent um, that is not consistent or disciplined and your lead generation activities. Maybe you're just a fear-based agent. That if you are the breadwinner because of it, the next 5 years you may want to hedge your bet a little bit.
Yeah.
I truly believe there will always be a place for the niche type real estate agent, like Nicole Espinosa's in our network. The short sale queen. I would have a feeling that would most likely always be around. Um, and she evolved and how to adapt, especially during the pandemic when the government put moratoriums on foreclosures. And but if you're a niche type agent or you become an expert, let's say investment, right? You're going to be earning your fee. But if you are a generalist and all of a sudden you look up and this industry's changed, you may be out of business.
Yeah.
And it's going to be tough. And a lot of people, they've got their head down, but they're actually not, they're not focusing on what they need to be doing to really build a legitimate business, because they think the water's always going to be there. They think the water's always going to be flowing.
Yeah. We've always been, real adamant on, at least 3 solid pillars. I think you got to have 4. I think even in this, can I get to 5 to 7 different strong pillars of revenue that are going to really support and allow our business, because some's going to taper. You're going to have to lean in on some other ones. I've been really, making sure that we're really staying disciplined to the best practices. I think one of the most overlooked opportunities that agents are taking the easy route on right now is open houses. And it's not to get more buyers, it's to get more listings, to create more exposure. So it's like, are you squeezing all of the juice out of what's working? And most real estate agents is no, right? They're skimming the top of everything instead of going deep, like you said. And so it's just like, even going back to the basics of the open house, are you doing all of the best practices to create awareness in that neighborhood to get another listing, not to get buyers? That's a given. That's going to happen. And I think a lot of agents are like, oh, this one's sold. I don't have to door knock. I don't have to do an open house. I don't have to do these things. And I'm like, do the best practices, because it's going to get you more business. It's going to then, not only if you do the best practices, it's probably could put an extra 10, 15, 20,000, depending, just by doing the best practice into your client's pocket. I know for us, man, like when we sold our house, we followed it to the T. That's why we set the mark in the neighborhood, because there were other homes that hit the market even before we did that were still available at even less than what we ended up selling ours for. It's because we followed the process, man. We depersonalized. We staged with professional photography. We just did all of the fundamentals. And I think those agents that stay disciplined to the best practices, those are the ones that will be able to ride from now on. But those agents that are taking the shortcut, that aren't squeezing the juice out of everything, they're just not going to be around.
I would tell you that we have, when COVID hit, our business took off, right? In terms of, we took more listings that year than we ever have. It broke our system. It led me to you and I on our coaching calls, hiring, putting in place lead flow managers. But I will tell you that, and that was great, right? So that was great. That was awesome having all that. But what ended up happening was that we got away from what we were disciplined at, which is tracking our calls, tracking our nurses, tracking our appointments and contacts. And so this year, 2021, while we were still up in business, we weren't up as much as we should have been. Last quarter, of course, throw that in there. But last quarter shouldn't have had that much of effect on the 21 business, right? Because we should have already had the pipeline built up. And so this year, what we've gone back and focused on, and it's working when we truly hammer it down, is the number of calls. Again, what's the one thing that's in our control that we can move the company forward, right? So it is calls. I can't control contact. I can control text messages. I can control door knocks, right? So it's right now we still pride ourselves on calls. By the way, we still on this like circle dialing, it's a 15 to 18% contact rate, by the way. So and we're creating nurtures. We're creating future at bats, and those future at bats are paying off. And they're paying off quickly. I will tell you right now. I mean, look, it's February 17th. We're 1% behind on listings taken compared to last year. We've already taken the same amount of listings, this month compared to last month for the entire month of February. We're up 2% in total GCI closed, and we're up 1% in closed volume already. And so, going back and staying true to our numbers, guess what? We will be ahead of those because as long as we stay disciplined on our calls, the calls will reward you.
That is, yep. I'm with you, brother. And that's the true definition of staying disciplined. And anybody can come in and make calls for a day, for 2 days, for 3 days. But let's talk about making calls for 3 months, right? For 13 months, 36 months. Staying disciplined to the thing within your control, engagement, and those that and it takes more engagement to get a list, to get an opportunity, and then it takes probably more opportunities to get a closed sale. And just know that it's still a numbers game. It's just going to take more numbers.
But you come up the expert advisor, you go and then again, I go back to, you talked about doing the open house, even if you have 100 offers and you've already sold it. More than likely, you've got buyers that need to go buy a house, right? So it goes back to one of the comments on here. Are you a true fiduciary? Are you a fiduciary to those buyers that you're out there truly doing everything in your power to go find them and put them in a house that fits what their wants and needs are? And so just because you help your seller get that best opportunity, can you go a little bit deeper and find something in the neighborhood? Say Crew talks about this, right? So he goes and door knocks on each side of the houses, on each street. Yeah. Each side of the street comes with all these offers and says, hey, which one do you want? Because we just sold this one right here. This one here had 50 offers on it. Here they all are. Spans them out. Which one do you want to take? Right? And he talked about going, door knocking that extra mile. That stuff, all this stuff works, but you just take this one through. I mean, I'm not gonna, I have a goal. My trainer asked me this week. He's like, man, what do you have like? And I don't really have a lot of fitness goals. I never want to have a six pack. I don't want to work that hard on fitness to have a six pack, right? And so he's like, what are your goals? And I'm like, I don't really have any goals, but right now, in terms of my fitness, but now I'm like, all right. I'm like, actually, I just want to put a goal out there like 20 pounds. How can I drop 20? And so I'm not dropping 20 pounds by going three times in 1 month.
No.
Right.
Right.
And so it's going to take consistency in the gym, consistency with my nutrition. And someone said calling sucks. What else are we doing with our time? Exactly. I mean, calling can suck, but that's actually a mindset. Calling can be fun if you frame your mindset around that. I'll tell you what, we have a lot of fun making calls. I'm not programmed. If you would have known me when I was 22, when I was 18 to 23 before I got in this business, I would have never dealt. First off, I wasn't a public speaker, right? I would be bright. My face would be as bright as a red tomato. I wouldn't want to make calls. I walked out of a job when I was 19 years old for Wells Fargo because they wanted to do script role playing. I'm like, nope, I'm out. I acted like I went to the bathroom and left. Right? And so, I was like, calling sucks. I don't want to role play. This makes it sound stupid. I don't want to sound like a robot. But you get in, the calls are fun if you frame your mindset around it and that you can help them. And people are going to be jerks on the calls. And so, you can have a little bit of fun with them. If they hang up on you, call them back and be like, John, I'm sure that you would never just hang up on someone. I'm sure we just got disconnected. And then let's see what they say and have a little bit of fun with it, and then go and dig a little bit deeper. And right now, it's not about finding the person on the phone call, a little bit of advice. We don't call people to see if they're interested in selling or buying a house. I come from an angle of like, hey, a home just sold in your neighborhood. Do you happen to know anybody around your neighborhood? Because look, they got 50 offers on it. Crazy. I mean, do you happen to know anybody that may be needing to sell their house right now? No. Okay, what about you yourself? Have you thought about selling? I mean, or do you even know what your home value is? Because it's going up. It's gone up over the last 24 months. Would you like to get just a quick market analysis? No spam, no nothing. I'll put you up on our proprietary home evaluation software. By the way, it's Home Boss.
Yeah.
Right? It's easy. Just have fun with it. The contact sport.
It is, man. It really is. And Nick, man, I greatly appreciate you, making the time, jumping in here, adding a ton of value as always, being open, being vulnerable, and just really sharing from the heart, kind of where you're at, and some great perspective and advice and nuggets and value to everyone out there that's struggling through adversity and especially personally, and then also carrying over into their business. So, man, I really appreciate you jumping in and chatting with us.
Dude, I appreciate you. I mean, you've been a big rock in my life. So I truly appreciate all that you've done for me. So, anything I can do to give back to you
means the world, brother. Appreciate you, and I'm super excited for you and the things moving forward, and kind of the impact that you're having on not only yourself, your family, your team, and also the community around you. So thank you again, brother. Appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you.
Awesome. We'll see you guys.
Yep.